I'd like to call the Monday, May 4th, 2026 Oakwood City Council meeting to order. Would you please rise and join me with the pledge to the flag?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
May I have a roll call, please, Lori?
Mayor Duncan?
Here.
Vice Mayor Byington?
Here.
Mrs. Turbin? Here. Mrs. Jackson? Here. Mr. Dorff?
Here.
Thank you. And may I have a report on the minutes of our April 6, 2026 regular session and work session and our April 20, 2026 work session? Councilmember Dorff.
Yes, I reviewed the minutes and they are correct. And I make a motion for us to approve the minutes.
Do we have a second?
I second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you. So ordered. Under status reports, we have a report from our consultant Fishbeck. Their firm are engineers, architects, scientists, and constructors. Oakwood has its own water distribution system. We acquired that many decades ago. It's been an outstanding amenity that we have in Oakwood and has lessened our dependence on using the city of Dayton and Montgomery County. However, with recent EPA rules pending or threatened, as the case may be, we have decided to engage them to do an overall assessment of our water distribution system. And they've got a preliminary report, and we council met with them in a work session to talk about it in more detail than we're expecting them to present this evening. But I would like to introduce you to come down and introduce yourself, and if you could speak into the microphone so the folks at home can hear us, and we would welcome to hear your updated report.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. With me tonight, as a great introduction, we have Al Osbacher and Brad Siefker, and we did meet with Council on several different occasions in work session to present some of the findings. They've done 3 reports with us over the last 5 years, a lot of different consulting that didn't end up in a report, but just as needed consulting with us. But the goal is to look at our water system and to make a plan for the future. So it's a robust system into the future. So just to start this off, our infrastructure that we have, we operate 8 groundwater wells for our system. We have 3 well fields. One is at the Furwood well field, one is at the Irving well field, and one is at Springhouse. They were constructed at various times between 1965 is the earliest to 2003. We have 2 water treatment plants, and I know there's been literature that said one time we had 3 water treatment plants. I think that's just a nomenclature. The iron plant is a treatment process in one of our treatment plants, so that was considered an independent plant at one time. It was constructed plus or minus 1983, and then the softening plants, one at Schaefer and one at Springhouse, were constructed in 1988 and 1992 respectively. So we didn't gain or lose a water plant. It's just there are 2 entry points to the EPA into our system, meaning where the water is produced, it enters the distribution system in 2 different points. So that's why we consider it 2 water treatment plants. But we still have the iron removal plant that's just part of the treatment process at the Schaefer plant. We do water softening by ion exchange, which is very similar to what homeowners have in their own system. Both plants do ion exchange softening since approximately 1990, and then finally we do disinfection by chlorine, liquid chlorine injection. We're very fortunate to have an interconnection with Dayton as an emergency on an as-needed basis. It's based on our tower height, so if our tower height gets too low, the Dayton connection automatically comes on and we use Dayton water. That happens very infrequently. One year it was 0. Last year with the heat and the drought starting, we used it about 10 times. We have 2 pressure zones. Typically it's referred to as one because it's such a small, minor higher pressure zone, and that higher pressure zone is located right around the water standpipe on Fairmont Avenue. That is because the homes around there have 2 and 3 stories, and the water tower doesn't provide enough pressure, so we have a small booster station that provides pressure to those homes around that area. In total, we have about 45 miles of underground water line, ranging in size from 4-inch to 16-inch, and roughly we have about 3,700 connections to that. So about 3,700 connections. And with that, I will turn it over to Brad and Al. Just press this button here. That's the advance.
Thank you, Doug. So as Doug mentioned, Fishbeck has helped the city out several times over the past 5-ish years with various general water system infrastructure project or general engineering services. We've assisted with completing a hydraulic model, which was kind of the basis for why we're here today, as well as assisted with lead service line inventories, helped with a water system audit, looking at water loss in the system, as well as a comprehensive sort of well field and water treatment plant to kind of sort of working backwards from out in the distribution system back to where the water is sourced, sort of a comprehensive system plan. So sort of the basis for that was looking at some of the system demands, looking at average and max day demands, sort of as a determining if Oakwood is growing, what sort of water demands we'd be looking for, and I think in general what we determined, minimal growth within the city of Oakwood as far as demands go, fairly built out at this point. That's mostly what this graph here is just attempting to show, that demands have been pretty consistent and stable over the past 10 or so years, and even through our projections past. Part of the water system model included looking at the water main age, and some of the big takeaways here was really just to emphasize 50% or so of the city of Oakwood system was prior to 1920, so about 100 years old or more. Generally cast iron water mains, so those water mains 1920 and older. General expected life is about 100, 105 years or so. So, roughly 50% or so of the system is, at or near its expected life out in the distribution system. So with all that, we did sort of a full system look, figured out, what sort of needs the city had, used that to help kind of develop, a 5 and 20-year capital improvements plan. Within that plan, there wasn't just one recommendation. There was 30 or so projects that were, laid out as far as improvements to the system, as far, maybe improving pressure, improving fire flows, helping with lead service line replacements, replacing aging and leaking mains, you name it, it kind of varied across the board. So more than 30 projects were identified, looking at water main replacements, service line removal, or service line replacements, primarily looking at lead service lines, which are a hot button issue with EPA right now. Also looking at water meter replacements. Water meters can be valuable as far as making sure that the city is accurately recording water usage out in the system and there's not inadvertent loss that's being missed. General water system maintenance, and then improvements of the water supply system, constructing additional groundwater wells to help kind of improve that resiliency, maybe even decrease that reliance on the city of Dayton some if at all possible, and then looking at subsequent elevated storage to maybe help attenuate some of those peak demands and maybe even further reduce any of that reliance on the city of Dayton. So with that, we developed preliminary cost estimates on a number of these projects, which shook out to roughly about $3 million a year, kind of over that 20-year period. This slide here sort of just does a pretty high-level breakdown of where those costs kind of shake out. And that's not to say any of these things here are necessarily set in stone. There's definitely room to shuffle some of these projects around. This was sort of just our first, effort, is where we thought maybe some of the low-hanging fruit could be, and some things that maybe would take more time to budget might fit in better with other street improvement projects where there could be some additional cost savings on some of these sorts of things. You'll see a line in there about a water treatment plant. Some of that also kind of will just depend on some of these other activities. As we talked about, a lot of the city's assets, especially on the water treatment side, are approaching 50 odd years old. Some of that equipment could be nearing the end of its life. So if there's need to expand plant capacity or to provide some additional redundancy and resiliency and maybe make improvements at the plant, that would be, an option that exists. And I think with that, willing to open it up for any questions.
Anyone have any questions?
I do.
Okay, go ahead.
You identified 30 capital improvement projects. Do you feel that that's comprehensive at this point? And also, would you consider any of them optional?
So I think as far as optional, there may be some that, things like that were included within that project were items such as, constructing additional elevated storage. There's maybe not a pressing need. The city's water system has worked for 40, 50 years, and like we said, demands have been relatively stable and consistent. With that said, sort of best engineering judgment would dictate that there is room to increase overall system capacity. Additionally, we included budgeting for things like additional groundwater wells, maybe to replace existing aged groundwater wells. There's no certainty that any of those groundwater wells that exist today could fail or going to fail, but it's more of a proactive, preventative activity that, if the city wanted to try to bake in some of that redundancy and increase that resiliency now, just to, use that as sort of a proactive opportunity. So there are some activities in there. I will say the water main improvements, those 30 projects, doesn't necessarily cover 50% of the distribution system. It's sort of a start. It's sort of identifying some of those high priority key areas that, we're sort of pressing from the city through our discussions with them as far as, developing that hydraulic model.
Thank you.
Councilmember Turbin, did you have a question? Okay. I think that this is important first start for us to understand what we're looking at, because we've historically had some of the lowest water rates in the whole area. We have been raising our rates over the last 2 years to start planning for these capital improvements. And I'm also thinking that we plan on discussing this with our Citizen Budget Review Committee, who has their first meeting here next week, I believe it is, and make sure that they're aware of this process. It's going to take a long time, and like I say, it's potentially a 20-year plan. So that gives us some time, and we have been active as a council as well as the city staff in realizing that this issue is something that we have to take care of, our infrastructure both above and below ground, and we've been working on doing this, and I think this helps put a little more meat on the scope of the project, and we appreciate your efforts, and you're going to be helping us as we go forward. This is not one and done for you all. So, yep. Okay. Do you have something?
I was just going to see if there are any further questions.
Okay. Well, that was hopefully that can be summarized in some comment in the Oakwood Register that doesn't scare everybody to death. So we appreciate your coming to give us an update, and we look forward to continuing to work with you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Our next status report, we have one open spot now still on our Budget Review Committee, and I would like to nominate Robert Ballinger for Precinct B. Robert is going to be replacing our longtime BRC member Howard Boos, who turned 90 this year and decided that he was having a hard time hearing us. So, so I also told our newer Budget Review Committee members that they don't have to stay on the BRC until they turn 90. But I would like to make a motion that we appoint Robert Ballinger to serve on our BRC, and would ask for a second.
Second.
Do we have any questions? Lori, would you call the roll?
Mayor Duncan?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Byington?
Yes.
Mrs. Turbin?
Yes.
Mrs. Jackson?
Yes.
Mr. Dorf?
Yes.
Thank you. Next, I have a proclamation recognizing May 11th through the 16th of 2026 as E-Bike Safety Awareness Week. Whereas May is National Bike Month, promoting cycling as a healthy, sustainable, and accessible form of transportation, and whereas electric bicycles, e-bikes, continue to grow in popularity for both transportation and recreation in communities across Ohio. And whereas Ohio law defines 3 classes of electric bicycles based on speed and motor assistance and establishes where and how each class may be operated. And whereas the use of e-bikes has been accompanied by an increase in injuries nationwide, highlighting the importance of safe operation and rider education. And whereas the City of Oakwood is committed to the safety of all residents, pedestrians, and roadway users, and supports efforts that promote education and safe shared use of public spaces. Now therefore, under the power vested in me, I, William D. Duncan, Mayor of the City of Oakwood, hereby proclaim May 11 through 17, 2026 as E-Bike Safety Awareness Week in the City of Oakwood, and encourage all residents to wear a helmet every time they ride, know and follow Ohio e-bike laws and classification, practice safe operation before riding in traffic or shared spaces, ride responsibly and be alert to surroundings and pedestrians, use proper charging equipment, and follow manufacturer safety guidelines and guidance, and encourage safe riding habits among youth and new riders. So with that, we've asked Captain Chuck Balazs to maybe address council just as the status of how our public safety department is helping with education efforts in our community and enforcement efforts if needed. Welcome, Captain Balazs.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. I appreciate the opportunity to come and talk about e-bikes. This is a very popular subject amongst just about every community in the United States. E-bikes are becoming more and more prevalent, and I think it's a great idea to generate more discussion about the safety of e-bikes. In Oakwood particularly, we have so many shared spaces, the sidewalks, we're a walking community, and so I think it's even more imperative than for our city that we emphasize these things. For instance, sudden, fast-moving bikes with people who may be walking, there's younger kids on just scooters, simple scooters, and having all these different speeds on the sidewalk can be challenging. So we want to make sure that people understand if you are on an e-bike or if you're on a bike that's on a sidewalk that you are watching out for the slower people, you are watching out and obeying all the laws. We are seeing, as a safety department, a number of, I would term it as reckless riding, just uneducated riding by kids primarily. So we just want them to understand that they need to know how to pass safely, how to not weave. They should announce themselves. We're also seeing there's this new class of bike, an e-moto bike, that does not have any pedals on it. And as far as the state of Ohio is concerned, that is a motorcycle. And we're trying to emphasize education rather than enforcement. We are trying to talk to kids, and if parents have any questions, they're welcome to call us. But regardless of the type of bike and whether it requires helmets, we're encouraging everyone to wear helmets. I can tell you, I've been here 30 years, and this is one of the most challenging times, and with these types of the dangers of kids on these, and I have found firsthand that kids that wear helmets that do get involved in accidents fare much, much better than kids that do not. Kids that wear helmets get up and sometimes don't even need transport to the hospital. The kids that don't wear helmets are typically have a little more trouble when it comes to the injuries that we see. We are also seeing, Pride mentioned the proper charging of batteries for some of these devices. There is a nationwide awareness campaign on all charging of rechargeable batteries, so we encourage people to make sure you're charging them with the factory devices. Don't charge them when they're unattended. We have had, it's been a while here specifically, but there are fires that have happened here because of charging. Most notably on a Christmas Eve, it was a charging battery in a house that caught fire. Unfortunately, nobody was harmed in that. You did mention this is not, we do not want to discourage e-bikes. They are, a great thing to have. I think a lot of us wish maybe those were available when we were younger. But we don't, we're not discouraging. We just encourage the safe riding. Mentioned the class of bicycles. There's a class 1 that has a 20-mile-per-hour top speed. It's pedal assist. Class 2 has a top speed of 20 miles an hour, but has throttle assist. And then there's the class 3, which is pedal assist only, can go 28 miles an hour and has a speedometer. So there are different classes of bike, and we encourage especially parents to know the classes of bikes, the requirements for each of them, the city ordinances that address those particular classes of bikes. And if anybody has a question regarding the classes of bikes, bicycle safety, helmet fitting, we do have bike officers that will help anybody fit helmets properly to their children. Get a hold of us, because again, we encourage everybody to ride them, but ride them safely. So, thank you.
Thank you, Captain. Does anybody have any questions for Captain Balazs? All right, appreciate you updating us.
Thank you very much.
I will say that I have seen on 2 instances kids on e-bikes and texting while they're riding their e-bike. That is illegal, and you will be cited under our current ordinances if we catch you texting while e-biking. So it's hard to believe, but that's also happening. But in terms of the advantages of being an e-bike rider, I saw one of the Oakwood Register paper carriers with his bag full of papers on his little tiny e-bike, and made it much easier to throw those papers on the sidewalk. So that person should get a double route to do, because that was very efficient use of a young capitalist. So.
And Mayor?
Yes, thank you.
Mayor?
Yes.
And also, isn't the safety department getting an e-bike as well?
We do have an e-bike for our
Aha.
Yes, and Healy.
Do they wear a helmet?
Oh yeah.
They most certainly do.
And Healy and I saw it in action, and it's not like one of these you can just lift. It's heavy.
Yeah.
So, but we're looking forward to him riding that around, and you'll see him in Oakwood. The next proclamation I have is recognizing the month of May as Codebreaker Month. We issued this proclamation 2 years ago for the 80th anniversary of the victory in World War II against Germany, and it honors Joseph Desch, who was an Oakwood resident who worked on creating the what did they call it?
Enigma machine.
The Enigma machine. But he innovated the use of thriaton tubes and circuitry to develop a high-speed electronic counting and mathematical computing machines to break the code that the Germans were using for the Enigma machine. And so I will not read the entire proclamation, but we have it on file. I would like to say that I want to proclaim May as Codebreaker Month and offer our deepest gratitude and admiration for the remarkable achievements of Joseph Desch. We commend his unwavering dedication to serving the United States of America, his extraordinary contributions to the fields of cryptology, computing, and innovation, and his instrumental role in shaping the outcome of World War II and in saving countless human lives. May his legacy continue to inspire and guide us in our endeavors to advance science, technology, and global cooperation for the greater good of humanity. And we, experts have thought that his code-breaking device probably shortened the war in Europe by up to 2 years. And it was my honor to go meet with Alan Turing last year for when he came to town for the Oakwood Historical Society meeting, and a replica of the Enigma machine and the code-breaking machine was at the Wright Memorial Library, and it was a very great time to meet with Alan and listen to him talk about his uncle and how he worked with Joseph Desch to break the Enigma code. So thank you on that. We have a signed proclamation here that we'll get to them after our meeting, and look forward to that. Next would be our visitors section, and this would be for anyone who wishes to address City Council on any matter other than the public hearing that we have regarding the Sugar Camp Point Oakwood public hearing that we have later on in our agenda. So if you're here for that, please stay. And if you're not, if you want to address council on any other matter, now would be the time we would like for you to come and address council. Okay, we have someone. Okay, please come and.
I have never done this before, so.
Could you please
bear
state
with me.
your name?
My name is Nancy Kravitz. I live at 905 East Shantz. I've lived there for 28 years, in Oakwood for 30.
Welcome.
I am here because I want curbs.
I'm sorry, you want what?
Curbs.
Curbs.
Several weeks ago, few neighbors, we're only talking about 6 homes in the 100 block of Thruston, from
Okay.
the top of Woods down to Shantz, where I live on the corner.
Okay, I'm with you.
We have had an inundation of water coming down because we have no curbs. My neighbor Debbie DiLorenzo and I met with Chris. Can I throw you under the bus here? Because if this goes off the rails, he told me to come. Anyways, so.
That's American democracy
I
in
know,
action.
right? I had kids, I've learned everything. Okay. Anyways, so what has happened, and it's just basic physics, when you start up at Woods and you look at the road, you can see how it goes down and it curves. So if you know how water works and water finds a way, it starts, and we've had a lot of heavy rains in the last 5 to 7 years. And the reason I know this is because when we got that section resurfaced, I lost my curbs that were put in, I'm not Chuck, you know when they did the curbs? About 15 years ago, 17 years ago? Something like that. Anyways, I had 3 kids under the age of 5, and I had water constantly coming down Thruston and into my side yard. Norbert was charge of the city manager at the time, and he came and he said, "We're getting sidewalks here." I thought that was fantastic. I had 3 kids under 5. Sidewalks were going to solve all my problems. Still don't have sidewalks 28 years later. Anyways, what has happened is we did get those blacktop curbs put in, and that really helped. The water comes down because you can see there is a rise in the center of the road, and it literally comes down and washes out my landscaping that I do. I used to do it all myself, but now I have a landscaping company to do it because I'm, quite frankly, too old. But anyways, the problem last year on, I believe it was April 5th, we had one of those torrential rains, inches and inches of rain. We've had a sump pump installed for years because we were constantly having water came down, the curbs came, it improved a lot, everything was fine. Last year on April 5th, the water came, the electricity was turned off to our block so that they could trim the trees along Schaefer. Some of my neighbors were told about this. They somehow knew. I am not really on social media, so I didn't know. Our sump pump plugged in, stopped working. In the middle of the rain on a Sunday night, my husband and I drove down to Lowe's, got the very last generator they had. By the time we got back and hooked it up to our sump pump, it had gone into our finished basement part about 1 inch. I had to have Mike Lunny, who does beautiful work, by the way, come and do our basement. We're probably going to move in another year or 2. I did not want to have to redo my basement. You can see how the water encroaches. It encroaches in the DiLorenzos. Now, the Moose Brookers don't have that much of a problem because they sit up a little bit, but I know that the family that lives on Garden and Thruston, they have an issue with water drainage. The Pattons, who are next to me on the corner of Shantz and Thruston, also have an issue with water coming down, and I have weeds. I just don't want my landscaping continuing to come in and take away everything that has been done. I'm having my driveway redone because of the salt and the water has eroded the tumbled stone I put in about 15 years ago. We just had Correct come out, and because of the French drains around my house, because my house is that old, the French drains, we've had so much water come in that Correct and my husband, who had an engineering degree, came and they dug a trench and put another pipe from the French drains down to the sump pump, so that we think we have engineeringly solved that problem of the water that's going to come in no matter what. We have French drains around the house. The water's coming into my house. So what I want are curbs. Everybody else has curb. I know not everybody, but almost every other street has curbs. I just think that it would really help to keep the water in the road and out of our yards. Like I said, Debbie DiLorenzo has an issue. We have an issue. I know the Pattons have an issue. It's only about 6 homes, but
Okay, I think
we
I
want
get-
curbs.
So you want curbs and
Unfortunately-
sidewalks, or just curbs?
Okay, kids are grown on their
Oh, so you
own.
don't care
I
about
care
sidewalks? All right, all right.
Honest to
So,
God.
I don't know if my recollection is correct, but if someone wants curbs and all the property owners agree, I believe there's such thing as a special assessment that we can do to pay for
It can
those.
be done by a petition of the property owners and a special assessment.
And
But is it also, what did you say, it was a capital cost that would have to be for next year, possibly? Right, it's not right. Yeah, I gathered that part. But no, what I'm saying is, he also pointed out is those nice blacktop curbs that really did help a lot. There are no companies that will do that because they can't, warranty their work because, it gets a lot of wear and tear on that.
Okay, well,
Wash
we
away.
will take your suggestion or request under advisement. We'll meet with our city manager, and obviously you've already met our engineer who's doing an outstanding job.
Yes.
And hopefully we can come to a resolution on this. Will that make you stay in Oakwood longer? You said you were thinking about moving.
Drop the taxes.
Drop the taxes. Well, now, wait a minute.
Those kids were expensive.
Okay.
They went to private. Anyways.
Okay.
But
Well,
thanks.
thank you.
I didn't go over time,
And
did I?
you did a very good job for your
Very good
first
job.
address of the
Thanks.
council. Thank you.
All right. Thanks.
Okay.
Thanks.
Is there anyone else that wishes to address council on a matter other than our public hearing? All right. Then we'll close our visitor section and we'll go to legislation. And Councilmember Jackson has an ordinance regarding street lighting.
Thank you, Mayor. I have an ordinance determining to proceed with the improvement of certain streets between certain termini in the city of Oakwood, Ohio, by lighting the same with electricity. This is the annual ordinance that is the second step of our 2027 street lighting program. It is the ordinance that authorizes the city to proceed with the project. It was introduced with a first reading at our April 6th council meeting. So I'd like to make a motion that this is the second reading of this ordinance, and I move that council adopt it tonight.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Do we have any questions or comments for Councilmember Jackson?
No.
No, hearing none. Lori, would you please call the roll?
Mayor Duncan?
Yes?
Vice Mayor Byington?
Yes.
Mrs. Turbin?
Yes.
Mrs. Jackson?
Yes.
Mr. Dorf?
Yes.
And I believe you also have an ordinance regarding special assessments. Is that
Yes.
correct?
An ordinance levying special assessment for the improvement of certain streets between certain termini in the city of Oakwood, Ohio, by lighting the same with electricity. This is the third and final step of our 2027 street lighting program. It allows for the cost of street lighting to be certified to the Montgomery County Auditor for assessment. Therefore, I motion that this is the second reading of this ordinance, and I move that council adopt it tonight.
Do we have a second?
I second.
Any other questions for Councilmember Jackson? Hearing none. Lori, would you please call the roll?
Mayor Duncan?
Yes?
Vice Mayor Byington?
Yes.
Mrs. Turbin?
Yes.
Mrs. Jackson?
Yes.
Mr. Dorf?
Yes.
And I believe Councilmember Dorf also has an ordinance.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is an ordinance determining to proceed with the repairing of sidewalks and appurtenances.
There too, on certain streets between certain termini in the city of Oakwood, Ohio, known as Zones 2 and Zones 3, and providing that abutting property owners repair the same. So this is an annual ordinance that's the second step of our 2026 sidewalk, curb, and driveway apron project. It was introduced with a first reading at our April 6th council meeting. This year's program area covers Zones 2 and 3, which include all city streets within the area bounded by Greenmount Boulevard to the north, Monterey Avenue to the south, and between, but not including, Schroyer Road to the east and Far Hills Avenue to the west. And so my motion is that this is the second reading of this ordinance, and I move that council adopt it tonight.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any questions for Councilmember Dorf? Hearing none. Lori, would you please call the roll?
Mayor Duncan?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Byington?
Yes.
Mrs. Turbin?
Yes.
Mrs. Jackson?
Yes.
Mr. Dorf?
Yes.
And then next, Vice Mayor Byington has a resolution.
Yes, Your Honor. This is a resolution by the Council of the City of Oakwood declaring the necessity of a renewal levy in excess of the 10 mil limitation and requesting the county auditor to certify the total current tax valuation of the City of Oakwood and the dollar amount of revenue that would be generated by a specific number of mills. In short, this is a resolution to begin the process of renewing the city's 2.72 mil property tax levy. It is an updated version of the same resolution that council adopted at our April 6th meeting with a formatting amendment requested by the Montgomery County Auditor. As I noted last month, this is a renewal and not a new levy. It will maintain the current level of property taxation and will not increase property taxes. I move the council adopt this resolution tonight.
Do we have a second?
Second?
Any questions for Vice Mayor Byington? Hearing none. Lori, would you please call the roll?
Mayor Duncan?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Byington?
Yes.
Mrs. Turbin?
Yes.
Mrs. Jackson?
Yes.
Mr. Dorf?
Yes.
And I believe that Vice Mayor Byington also has an ordinance.
Ordinance, yes. This is an ordinance adopting the 2027 tax budget for the City of Oakwood for the fiscal year beginning January 2027. To comply with Section 6.01 of the City Charter, this is our annual housekeeping ordinance to estimate the city's revenue and expenses for calendar year 2027. At this point, I think you have to do an open hearing.
Our charter requires that we do a hearing regarding this tax ordinance. Our charter also have been informed over many years that Montgomery County no longer cares what we send to them because this is nothing to do with the budget that we plan on approving in the fall. So this is a housekeeping matter to be in compliance with our charter. So if there's anyone here that wants to talk about an ordinance that means absolutely nothing, please come and testify either for or against. I see no one clamoring to the podium, so I will declare the public hearing closed.
Okay. With that case, I will move that council waive the second reading and adopt this ordinance tonight.
And do we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor, let's call the roll. Let's do this properly. Let's call the roll. Lori?
Mayor Duncan?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Byington?
Yes.
Mrs. Turbin?
Yes.
Mrs. Jackson?
Yes.
Mr. Dorf?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Before we go to our public hearing regarding the Sugar Camp Point Oakwood Master Plan, I would turn the dais over to Vice Mayor Byington.
Yes, Your Honor. Given that this particular piece of legislation deals with a property across the street from my house, I am going to recuse myself and leave the dais for this deliberation.
But you'll rejoin us.
I will rejoin you after you voted on it.
All right, thank you. So we have a resolution regarding this matter to be introduced by Councilmember Jackson.
Yes, Mayor. I have a resolution to grant approval of an amendment to the approved master plan for the Sugar Camp and Point Oakwood development affecting the site located at 1 Russell Place. This resolution would amend the Sugar Camp Point Oakwood master plan to allow for the construction of a pickleball court and expansion of the parking lot at the Russell Total Wealth and Wellness Building located at 1 Russell Place. The Planning Commission conducted a public hearing on this plan amendment on March 6, 2026. By a vote of 4-0, with one member recusing himself, the Planning Commission voted to recommend approval with certain conditions. These conditions are as follows. The hours of operation would be limited to 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Players must utilize sound dampening paddles and balls. Use must be restricted to Russell Total Wealth and Wellness employees, clients, and prospective clients. And finally, construction is not to commence until all required permits are obtained. The matter is now before council on this recommendation, and tonight we will hold our own public hearing on the application. I'm introducing this as a resolution to approve based on the recommendation of the Planning Commission. However, council is required to hold a public hearing on this proposal and has not prejudged the matter. At the conclusion of the hearing, we may vote to approve the application in its entirety, approve it with conditions, or deny it altogether. If council decides to approve the recommendation by the Planning Commission, we will adopt this resolution as is. If we decide to adopt the recommendation with modifications or additional conditions imposed by council, there is space provided on the document to write them in tonight. In the event that we deny the application altogether or otherwise depart from the Planning Commission's recommendation, I will withdraw this resolution as written and ask the law director to prepare legislation consistent with council's decision to be adopted at our next regular meeting in June. It's my motion. As a formality, before we begin the public hearing, I move that council adopt this resolution and ask for a second.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All right. That will then allow us to proceed with the public hearing regarding the amendment to the master plan that Councilmember Jackson just described. As she noted, the Planning Commission conducted a public hearing on the pickleball court amendment in March, and they have recommended approval with a few conditions. Under our zoning code, council is to hold its own hearing tonight before making a final decision. Before we begin, I would like to go over the procedure for the hearing, which will follow our usual format. We'll start with a staff report by Code Enforcement Officer Sarah Valentine, summarizing the application and tonight's hearing. After the staff report, we will open the public hearing portion of the meeting and take public testimony. We'll start with anyone who wishes to speak in support of the application, and then we will hear from anyone who wishes to speak against it. When the public testimony has concluded, we will close the public hearing and begin our council deliberations. Before we begin, I would like to ask the law director to swear in those who wish to testify tonight, and I believe you can do that en masse. Is that correct?
Yes. Would all those who plan to testify at the hearing tonight please stand? Do you all swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in any testimony before City Council tonight? All right. Thank you.
Thank you for that. With that, Ms. Valentine, would you present your staff report? And welcome.
Hello, Council. So tonight we have application 26-2 filed on the applicant of Jared Barnett on behalf of Russell Total Wealth and Wellness. Location is at 1 Russell Place. The zoning district, this is all multi-use special planning district, so meaning anything that is proposed has to be by special use. The nature of the request is to amend the current Sugar Camp Point Oakwood master plan for the installation of a sports court pickleball and the expansion of a parking lot on the premises. Just a little bit of history on this particular property. On September 4th, 2024, the application was reviewed by Planning Commission previously which resulted in a unanimous recommendation to council. On October 7th of the same year, the application was reviewed by council, but subsequently was sent back to Planning Commission due to a miscommunication concerning the adequacy of the required legal notice. On November of the same year, it was reviewed by Planning Commission again, which resulted in a unanimous recommendation for approval to council. December 2nd, the application was reviewed by council but was denied due to concerns with drainage and decreasing property values, specifically concerns of the noise. On April 1st of this year, the Planning Commission did recommend council approval to amend the current Sugar Camp Point Oakwood master plan for the installation of the pickleball court and the parking lot expansion on the premises at 1 Russell Place under the following conditions. And just to reiterate, number one, the hours of operation are to be from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. The applicant shall acquire sound dampening paddles and balls for the pickleball court. The applicant must restrict the use of the pickleball court to Russell Total Wealth and Wellness employees, existing clients, and prospective clients. The court shall remain locked at all times, and access will be controlled by Russell Total Wealth and Wellness. Lastly, the applicant will obtain all required permits through the City of Kettering, not limited to structural and electrical permits. So this again is a multi-use special use district. The proposed pickleball court will be located on the west side of the property between the existing building and Sugar Camp Circle. The pickleball court will be approximately 180 feet from the public right-of-way on West Shantz Avenue, 350 feet from the property lines bordering the homes along Point Oakwood, and approximately 240 feet west from the public right-of-way at Sugar Camp Circle. The parking lot will be expanded to accommodate current and future needs, consisting of 43 proposed parking spaces, which will put the total amount to 70. The pickleball court is roughly going to be 880 square feet, which is a standard pickleball court size. However, the overall surface area is going to be 1,800 square feet to allow for baselines and sidelines. It will be surrounded by a 10-foot height black coated chain link fence, which will completely enclose the court. Just a note that chain link fences are permitted to be up to 15 feet in both private and public tennis courts in the city. The next image here is the property as is. So you can see the building and the parking lot currently. This previously is where the pickleball court was proposed back in 2024. So you can see that it was to the south of the building, which was much closer to West Shantz Avenue and to the homes over in Point Oakwood. This slide shows the expansion of the parking lot and then the pickleball court there to the left. So again, it's closer to the Sugar Camp Circle, further from West Shantz Avenue, and then further from the homes in Point Oakwood. This slide here is just as a reference, so you can see previously the proposed pickleball court there to the south, and again, where now it's currently being proposed on the property, just for reference. Again, this image is the chain link fence, so it's going to be 10 feet in height. The court will also have 4 poles, which will be 12 feet in height. Those will be located within the enclosure itself, even though it's only showing 2, but it will be 4 total. The next is the lighting. So the proposed parking lot expansion will have 3 new lights installed and then 1 existing that's going to be relocated. You can see there with the arrows, those are where the lights will be constructed. The lighting plan here, as you're looking at this, it just confirms that there's no light spill beyond the property boundaries. So they have mitigated any issues or concerns as far as, lighting that may reflect over to the homes along West Shantz. This next is the landscaping. So they have heavily screened the pickleball court with landscaping to help kind of mitigate the concerns of noise. I know the city, I have checked with our public safety department, myself and public safety. We have never received one complaint in regards to noise from pickleball. There is at Orchardly Park, there's a public pickleball court, which is about 30 feet from residential properties. And there's also a private pickleball court on Ridgeway Road. But to my knowledge, again, we've not received one complaint in the city. Next screen is just the landscaping that's going to be surrounding the pickleball court. As you can see, most of that is at least 6 foot in height. And then the far right column is just the quantity. So again, Russell Total Wealth and Wellness, has went to great, depths to screen this to try to mitigate those concerns. Next, I'm going to ask Chris Kuzma, our city engineer, to come up and to talk about stormwater.
Thank you, Sarah. So as Sarah alluded to in the previous proposal that was rejected ultimately in 2024, one of the hot topic issues was drainage and runoff, namely to Ledges Trail and Point Oakwood Way, the residences that back up to Russell Wealth. This time around, again, the stormwater calculations performed by Van Atta Engineering, I have approved on February 9th of this year. And as you'll see here on the next slide, ultimately, when rainwater falls on the new expansion of the parking and the pickleball court, it'll hit the pavement and generally sheet flow, which means it just flows kind of in a general direction towards existing storm sewer infrastructure on site, shown here in the red, and ultimately it will be conveyed northward to Old River Trail. So as you can see, those folks on Point Oakwood Way and on Ledges Trail are unaffected. And I'll show you next, kind of zoomed out. Ultimately, it goes up, the storm sewer runs up to Old River Trail and then west to the NCR Lagoon. So Van Atta Engineering's calculations prove that there is negligible effect on the storm sewer infrastructure and detention facilities that we have available. So.
Thank you, Chris. All right, so next, can I answer any questions?
Any questions for our staff?
I have a question, Sarah.
Yes.
In one of the write-ups, you talk about the sound dampening paddles, and
Yes.
you say that they will acquire them, and then in another write-up, you say it's required to play. So which is it?
So it will be required for them to
play.
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
You have a question? Go ahead.
I was just, thank you for your presentation. Can you talk a little bit about, you talked about the hours from 9 to 5. Can you talk a little bit about what enforcement might look like, if there was play to happen 10 p.m., midnight, right? What kind of recourse do neighbors have if this becomes a continual problem?
So if we get a complaint, with the city, then that's something that I would have to talk with Russell Total Wealth and Wellness. First would probably reach out to them to let them know we did receive a complaint, but ultimately, that would prompt for like a zoning violation. So if they didn't adhere to these requirements, then ultimately that could be an issue for them.
Go ahead.
Given the hours, 9 to 5, is the plan still to have, the plan shows that there's still lighting for the court?
Correct, yep. So when they proposed to the lighting, they were proposing just for the lighting to use initially the hours to be from 9 a.m. to 8 p.m. So that's the reason that they had the lighting in the original plans. But Planning Commission restricted those hours to 9 to 5.
And so the applicant still has plans to put lights for the lights?
Correct. My understanding is they still have plans. They have not told me otherwise.
Okay, I had a question about the drainage, Chris. Could you show that slide that had the red? The one before that one, I think. That one. Are the squares storm?
Those are
sewers?
inlets,
And what are
existing inlets.
That's the existing, okay.
Correct.
And the red with arrows are just the direction of the flow?
The direction of flow.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay, yes, so that goes down. Now, the next slide forward, when it goes down to Old River Trails, that's where it's going now. There's really no change there, correct?
Correct. Yeah, everything's existing. It's,
Okay, and then it follows its way. Okay, water goes downhill, right?
Yes, sir.
Got it.
Last I checked.
Okay, thank you, sir.
And Sarah, I have one more question for Sarah. When you were in your original talk, you said that the original plan was denied based on drainage and some other reason, but it wasn't noise. But noise was, in fact, one of the primary reasons.
Correct, noise, and they felt that the noise, the
property.
drainage, yeah, that it would decrease property values.
Okay. And so my question is, since noise was an issue, was a sound study done this time?
No, to my knowledge, a sound study was not completed.
Okay. I wish it had. Because, without a sound study, we can just rely on what we read, and
Right.
so, okay.
Yeah, I know Planning Commission had kind of, I think, tossed that idea around, but ultimately they did not impose that as a requirement to be completed.
Okay.
Okay, any other questions for staff? All right, so we'll now ask anyone who wishes to speak in favor of this proposal to come to the podium and state your name and address, and we welcome you.
Hi, I'm Jared Barnett with Synergy, the applicant for the project, on behalf of Russell Total Wealth and Wellness. Thank you for your time tonight and for the conversation to date. I want to just paint a little bit of a picture here, because obviously part of what we're talking about here tonight was denied before, and we've come back in front of you with new plans. I was the one in 2017 or 18 that originally came in front of City Council with the idea of bringing Russell Wealth here. At that time, they were a much smaller firm, probably more than half the size they are now. They were also going through this brand change to focus on wellness. And I think, although I can tell from the number of people that stood up and took the oath, we're going to have some residents that don't like one of the components of this pickleball here tonight. What we really have is a great success story. We have a business that came to Oakwood because they thought they could grow better here than their prior location. They thought they would have a community that would embrace the wellness component, and it really has. We've seen, again, staff double in size. The parking need has been created by that. They always had plans to expand here. They bought additional ground beyond what they needed here, and we're hopeful that maybe in a year or two we're looking at a building expansion as well. The parking is immediately outgrown, though. They're having about half of their staff right now park on the other side of Sugar Camp and walk across. Not that that's maybe unusual in a downtown environment, but the goal of obviously coming here was not to have staff walking by 3 or 4 other buildings to get to their building. So the parking is an important need of what they have here. But in addition to the wealth practice, the wellness side of their business has really resonated with clients. If you look at their motto, I looked it up today, it's live your best life, your journey to better wealth and wellness starts here. And Rob, their CEO, talks a lot about wealth without health really isn't as meaningful, right? So that has become a big focus of their clients. And their clients, the number one item, and it's probably because it's really popular right now, is pickleball. They'd love to have pickleball. They'd love to be able to come take a pickleball class and play on some of the other Oakwood parks. So it's why they've fought hard for this need. I don't want to downplay this need for their business, but we are extremely receptive to the residents that are going to come up to speak here. We've made a lot of changes since we've heard that feedback from the residents. From the prior submission, we've obviously moved the court from where it was to try to get it away from the majority of the residents. I know one of the people that may speak is the vice mayor. I think we might have moved it about the same to him or even a hair closer, but we've tried to move it from the majority of the residents, make it internal to the campus. This isn't a primarily office campus, medical professional office, so we tried to make it internal to the campus there. We've also increased the landscape buffer. As you saw on that landscape plan, we've got a significant amount of landscaping. I know a sound study came up, and I said at Planning Commission, I'm sure I can get you one that tells you this is no problem. I'm sure the residents will say this is still a problem. That, you know, that is concerns from people. We have looked at countless studies that have been done. Obviously, there's been complaints about this because there's a lot of studies out there. It appears at our distances, and especially with the agreement by Russell to use, there are quiet approved paddles that reduce sound 50%. They're regulated by USA Pickleball. So I think that was a great accommodation at Planning Commission to address this sound concern by Russell Wealth. We've restricted who can use the court to clients. This is not a public court, and it's not multiple courts. I really couldn't find any studies on one court. I don't think they're done because it's one court. Most of them are 8 to 10 to 12 to 20 courts. As we also reviewed with staff from the city the existing courts and locations. Again, we asked for the inquiry to police if there were any calls. We knew planning staff didn't have any. We're not aware of any. We looked at the court at 1100 Ridgeway. It's about 150, maybe 140 to 150 feet. We're over 200 feet, and there's been no complaints with that one. Again, being a single court, I think that's a very good comparative there. And sound was probably the #1 thing discussed at the most recent Planning Commission. You know, there's a lot of talk about the measurement of it when you add the landscape screen and when you add the sound reducing paddles, you know, measuring that against typical neighborhood sounds, mowing, dogs and animals, kids playing, other sports, cars on far hills and shots. I think, again, it's going to be very subjective as to what those sounds are and how to best mitigate. But to address that concern, it was agreed to use the quiet approved paddles. Again, that's a regulated thing by USA Pickleball to reduce sound 50%. And then to reduce the hours, Oakwood noise ordinance is 8 to 8. We've now reduced it to 9 to 5. That is absolutely going to limit their play, but they're willing to do that because it's important to their clients. I think, and I know, again, we're going to have residents come up to speak in opposition to this, and if I can address any concerns further, I will be happy to come back up. I appreciate their concerns. I also appreciate that really it's council's decision to figure out the concerns of the residents, but the needs of a growing business, I think, with a great story to tell here in Oakwood that I believe has done a lot of things to try to mitigate the concerns of the neighborhood. That being said, I'll be here to answer any questions you might have now or later.
Okay. Anyone have any questions?
I do have a question. Did I hear you right that you said the sound dampening paddles will reduce the sound by 50%?
Yeah, USA Pickleball has, it's called, I did a lot of research after Planning Commission, they're called quiet approved paddles. And they have names that kind of talk about that quiet approved, but they are rated to be 50% of the sound of a regular paddle.
Am I reading 50 or 15?
50, 50, 50
yes.
50,
okay.
Both paddles and balls that can do that, and it says they play, they're regular for tournament play as well, so it's not a big detriment for Russell to have to purchase those paddles versus a regular paddle.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Question, go ahead.
Yeah, and I don't know if you can answer this or if you need to consult with your clients, but
sure.
I'm just trying to, you mentioned that this is a really important part of the wellness component of the business, and I was wondering if you can sort of flesh that out for me to help me understand how this fits into the sort of greater wellness offerings that the company offers.
Yeah, I will probably ask Samantha McCoy from Russell to talk about the wellness offerings, given that I'm not employed by Russell Wealth.
I figured.
Again, please identify yourself for the record.
I'm a little bit shorter, so. Samantha McCoy, Vice President of Russell Total Wealth and Wellness. When I was hired, we were Russell Total Wealth Management. Probably a decade and a half ago, Rob Russell, our President and CEO, suffered a traumatic injury, brain injury. And during the time that he was sitting kind of by himself in a dark room, he'd said, you know, he worked his entire life to work with our clients to build up their life savings and their retirement. And he said at this point in time, like, we need to really start investing in their wellness too, because you don't want to spend your entire life saving for retirement to have to spend all your wealth on your health when it comes to it. So this is just an added factor to our wellness component of the company. On site, we also have a personal trainer who offers classes to our employees and our clients. We have massage therapy, we have a hyperbaric chamber, and then this is just another addition to the wellness component that we are wanting to offer.
Thank you.
I have a question.
Okay. Who's your question directed to? Okay.
I'm sorry. Don't be sorry.
I didn't get your name.
Samantha McCoy.
Samantha. The lights. Do you have plans where the lights will become necessary, that you'll use the lighted courts for some other purpose when it gets dark?
Fantastic question. I was just speaking with Mr. Jared here. We're happy to take the lights down for pickleball. We will need it for parking because we do have extended hours for our tax season. Want to make sure that our employees and clients are safe, but happy to take down the lights for pickleball.
Okay, so you will remove the lights from the court?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you.
Will that save you any money?
Probably.
Okay, I'm helping you on that.
Thank you.
Okay. I had probably a totally non-germane question for either one of you. You had a 10-foot fence, and I think our standard, you can go up to 15. What's the probability of a pickleball going over a 10-foot fence?
I have no idea, Mr. Mayor.
All right.
But
That's probably why it was non-germane. Okay.
the drawing that's in there is from the pickleball supplier for some of the elements of that, and 10 foot is their typical. So it probably will happen, but my guess is statistically that keeps the majority of the balls in the court.
Okay. All right.
Yes,
So the person that needs to be sworn in knows the answer to my non-germane question? Okay, well, could you stand and we'll swear you in?
And identify yourself. Come on up.
Sir, do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in any testimony before council tonight?
I do.
Thank you.
I'm Andrew Ackworth. I work at Russell. I also live on 440 Peach Orchard. And my husband's family owns KTC Quail Tennis Club in Dayton. So, yes, I do know the answer to that question. The answer is not likely, unless they're not very good. So usually pickleball, it's a lot lower, and there's not as much movement. It's not like tennis where you're hitting balls really, really hard. They're similar to like a wiffle ball kind of thing. They don't bounce very high. You'd have to hit it really hard for it to go higher than 10 foot.
All right, thank you for the answer to my question.
I'm sorry, what was your function at Russell?
I'm a lead wealth advisor at Russell Total Wealth and Wellness, and I also live in Oakwood. So.
Okay, all righty, thank you.
Okay, anyone else wish to address council in favor of this proposal? Okay, I believe we may call you back if we have questions or clarifications. So at this point, we will go to folks that are against this proposal, and you're welcome. I don't know what order you want to go, but you're welcome to come up and address council. And again, welcome. Could you state your name and address for the record?
My name is Marietta Orlowski, and I live at 205 Point Oakwood Way. I've spoken to you before, and I'm surprised to be back here, but so I'd like to talk to you about two main items. One is my understanding of what happened at the Planning Commission, as well as these special conditions that have been put forth in front of you. First, I'd like to, just for the record, just remind us all of the standard, one of the standards that has to be met for a special use approval. And that proposal is that the proposed use will not be injurious to the reasonable use and enjoyment of other property in the immediate vicinity for the purposes already permitted, or substantially diminish or impair property values within that neighborhood. And so that has to be met. It's my understanding, I don't mean to, my understanding that that standard has to be met in addition to some others, but that's the one that's most important to me. And again, my understanding of what happened at the Planning Commission meeting is every single member of that Planning Commission expressed concern about the noise. You know, I did ask for a transcript. I kept notes, but I certainly didn't record it. And it's my understanding that the transcript doesn't exist. So I don't want to misspeak. That's not my intention. But I will tell you what I recall from that meeting is that every single member expressed concerns about the noise, it being a noise nuisance, which is standard D. Mr. Lauterbach personally referenced he had just come back from vacation at a resort with pickleball courts, and boy, he was surprised at how loud it was. And he was the one that said, maybe we, you know, what about these paddles? Do they really work? Is it Gowdy? Made comment, and she's the one that proposed the hours. She said, boy, yeah, I can't imagine coming home after work and hearing that noise. And she was the one that proposed 9 to 5. At least, you know, that's assuming that everybody works 9 to 5 and that everybody leaves their home. I don't think standard D is about minimizing the nuisance. It's about not adding the nuisance. And so it does bother me, you know, it was the Planning Commission, again, my reflection, I'll let others speak who were also there. They're good people trying to find a compromise. Our concern is that these, and we would love a compromise. Like nobody, like we have things to do, we have lives to, you know, everybody wants a compromise, but these conditions are not a manageable set of conditions. And former Councilman Stevens brought that up last time. So it's Friday night at 7 o'clock and I hear ping, ping, ping. Who am I gonna call? I've learned today that I can't even call the police. I'm actually gonna call the city office on Monday and ask for a zoning violation after I've heard it multiple Friday nights. And even greater, which Councilman Stevens brought up, was this idea of special use equipment. I mean, just the practicality of that. So every year, what is the city gonna put out a list of approved equipment? Are the city police officers gonna be trained on what's on that list? You know, again, the stakes are high because it's a noise nuisance and you have to meet that standard of standard D. And these conditions aren't practical. They're not going to mitigate the noise. And we appreciate the landscaping, we appreciate the moving, but we always come back to the fact that it's going to be a noise nuisance, not just now in our neighborhood, now on Shantz Avenue. So please, please, if you do seek to approve this and try to find a compromise, part of the approval has to be how these conditions are going to be managed. Because right now there doesn't seem to be a plan. Well, gosh, you know, we'll maybe call the city on Monday. And I feel, my husband and I feel, that this applicant, you know, has kind of given some special treatment along, and the residents' voice hasn't always been heard. You know, we filled this room last time, and some of my neighbors have not changed their opinion. They're just not feeling heard over a louder voice. So please consider not passing this pickleball court. And thank you for listening.
Thank you. Anyone else wishes to speak in opposition to this proposal? I see someone pointing. Please come down and state your name and address for the record, and we welcome you as well.
Howdy, I'm Paul Bohannon. I live at 204 Point Oakwood Way. I should have brought this. I guess I didn't think about this, but before the pickleball proposals were ever put forth, in the original plan for Russell Wealth Management Building, there were some concerns from all the neighbors on the south side of Shantz Avenue. And there was the original parking lot had people parking with their headlights facing across Shantz Avenue.
Okay.
So I believe the Planning Commission said, yeah, we don't want to do that. And then so when Russell Wealth Management Building was built, they revised the parking lot so that no cars were parked facing directly across Shantz Avenue. Now I see in this new picture that there's maybe half a dozen parking spots that now shine across Shantz Avenue. And for people that are living across the street, they're going to get those headlights through their front windows. And I think we need to go back and look at that approved Shantz Avenue parking lot plan and modify this parking lot plan to meet that same standard. Any questions? That's for your time. Sorry.
No. I'm trying to envision it because it's not on the screen anymore, but does the landscaping have any impact on those headlights? Does the new landscaping?
We could pull that picture back up.
But I can also, does anyone know if the proposed landscaping helps mitigate some of those headlight concerns that you mentioned, or maybe it doesn't? I'm just asking.
Yeah, I can't tell.
Sarah, do you want to address this? Yeah, we'll have Sarah from staff address this specific question.
So the parking area does face West Shantz, but there is landscaping in front of it to kind of impede that there, as you can see. So there's approximately, I think, 6 spaces there that's going to be facing West Shantz.
Is that the little tiny, they look blue to me.
Correct, yeah, kind of a grayish blue.
What is that?
Those are, I'd have to look, I know they are a bush, I believe maybe those are 3 feet. I'd have to check, maybe 3 feet in diameter. Was it the next?
Yeah. So I think those are one of the shorter evergreens.
Yeah, either evergreens or those coniferous trees.
Is that the third picture down?
Those all say 6 feet.
Okay. And they grow, don't they?
Yeah, they should.
Okay. All right. Well, any other questions for Paul? No. All right, thank you. Who else would like to testify? I want to thank everybody in advance for keeping their comments clear and concise and not repetitive, so we appreciate that. But if you'd like to come down, and especially you, state your name and address for the record.
Good evening. My name is Steve Byington. I live at 24 West Shantz with my wife. I have just a few comments. Hopefully they won't be repetitive. They might be a little bit, though, in some cases, because I think sometimes some of the points need to be emphasized. First of all, I'd like to say that I think Russell Wealth Management has done a fantastic job with their site. I will say that they've been a good neighbor to the folks here. Their building, as an architect, I think that they have a very good-looking building. They've been, like I said, a very good neighbor. And I don't really have an issue with the additional parking. I think one of the things that I am most impressed with them is that they are growing. They're a successful business, and I think that parking lots are just a sign of a successful business. When you need more spots for your people as well as your customers, I think that that's a very good sign. So I don't really have any comments regarding their additional parking request. The issue I do have is with the pickleball court itself. I see this as an amenity that they are asking for. When this building was originally approved, as was mentioned by the applicant, they were a business that was dedicated mainly to wealth management. And I understand that things change, but it's one of those considerations. I believe that as long as that fits within the footprint of the building and the belief or the design of the building, I think that would be fine with the neighbors as long as everything was contained. It's when you start getting those health and activities outside, particularly with something like pickleball that has a noise component to it, that people start to have problems with. I do appreciate the idea of moving the site from one area to the other, but in all honesty, the idea of moving it from one side of the site to the other is like moving a smoking section in a restaurant from one side of the restaurant to the other. You're still going to, whether it's this group of people who are being annoyed by it, you're just changing the folks who are going to be annoyed by it by moving that particular area. Some of the concepts that were developed by the Planning Commission, I think, are solid in their thought, but I'm not sure that they're solid in their enforcement capability. As was mentioned, the idea of sound deadening rackets and equipment, I think that sounds like a good idea. I don't know if it's 50% or not. I'm going to take them at the word that it is 50% sound deadening, but I know as a person who plays tennis that I have my own racket. And, if I like to play tennis, it's very unlikely that I'm going to go to a place that forces me to use something that is not my equipment. If you're a pickleball player, and I have pickleball players in my family, they are very set on using their own equipment. So I have a concern about the actual enforcement ability of being able to say that they're going to require those rackets on those courts. And as was mentioned by one of the residents, who's actually going to do that? Is our Oakwood police staff going to be out there responding to calls saying that sounds like a regular racket, not a sound deadening racket? And speaking about noise complaint calls as well, as was mentioned, numerous times, there haven't, it's been said there haven't been any calls, there haven't been any complaints by any of the existing pickleball facilities. I'm kind of curious as to how that call would actually go. If you are somebody who lives at the Orchard Lee area and you moved into an area that had a court in existence already, how would that call go? You phone saying, hey, there's noise and it's bothering me. I knowingly bought this house in an area that had this. What are the police going to say to that, or what's the city going to say to that? Also, if you're going to make that complaint to begin with, what are they going to do? They're going to, stop playing at Orchard Park, because there's a complaint out there. So I think, saying that there are no complaints in those areas is misleading, because I'm guessing that all of the residents who've lived in that area have stopped calling, because nothing is going to get done about it. It's not like you're going to move the court. It's not like you're going to put stuff around it to deaden the sound. So I don't think it's a fair analogy to say that there are no complaints. I'm sure that people in those areas don't like the sound that's coming out of that. They've just given up on actually making those calls anymore. Ultimately, though, what I want to mention is the Oakwood's vision statement. As city council members, you're here to uphold the ideas of the city of Oakwood. Just reading a few of them is, Oakwood is a city where principles emphasized is where principal emphasis is placed on neighborhoods, schools, responsive city services, and parks, where reasonable or responsible citizenry helps establish and follow community standards that preserve the quality of individual and community property, where citizens participation is valued and encouraged to give definition to the high expectations of the community and its residents. And most importantly, it has a statement here where it says, where viable business professional enterprises are clearly compatible with the residential integrity of the community. It specifically throws the word in there clearly. It has to be, you have to understand that you believe that the activity that they're proposing is compatible with the residential integrity of the area around it. So ultimately, I think you have to ask yourself the questions, are you going to let the wants of a business supersede the vision and high expectation of the Oakwood residents who have established this as their place to call home? You have to ask yourself, how does it benefit the residents of Oakwood to have the residents of another community playing pickleball in their community? You know, because ultimately, I know that Russell Wealth Management, I'm sure, has a few folks that are Oakwood residents, but the vast majority of their folks who are going to be playing here don't live in the city of Oakwood. They don't. They just don't. So I see this as an amenity that is not really required by the business. It's just something that they want. So I think ultimately, you know, you have to ask yourself, you know, are you going to tell the community that the wants of a business are more important than the wants of the individual citizen? So I will open up the questions if you have any.
Any questions? All right, thank you.
Thanks.
Who else wishes to address council? Please come down and state your name and address for the record, and welcome.
Hi, my name is Hamed Zolbanin. I live at 225 Point Oakwood Way.
I'm sorry, could
sorry.
you say your name again for us,
Hamed Zolbanin.
our hearing aid impaired people?
Is that okay?
Say it one more time and speak into the microphone.
Hamed Zolbanin.
Thank you.
I live at 225 Point Oakwood Way.
Where do you live?
225 Point Oakwood Way.
225 Point Oakwood.
Oh, Point Oakwood. Okay.
Point Oakwood.
Yes.
Sorry.
Right. I wanted to talk about 2 points. One was, I think, deliberately pointed by Mr. Boynton, but I want to talk about it from a different angle. When I moved out of state from Indiana to Ohio, I specifically was shopping for a place that had good schools. I could easily buy a much nicer home in, I don't know, Centerville, different places of the city, but I picked Oakwood because of its school district. And I built the home myself. Back then, when I talked to Mr. Posner, from whom I bought the lot and built the home, during our discussions, he brought up that he wanted to build a road right on the hill where it's between our house and Russell Place. And he said we abandoned that because it cost them, I don't know, $1 million or so. So he said, we're not going to do that. So I asked this a few times to make sure that there's not a building plan right behind our house. We started building, and then a few months or a year ago, Russell Place was erected back there. I'm sure there has been discussions about building such a place before then. I don't know whether it was before I bought that place or it was after that, but I might have not done that if Russell Place, I knew that there was a building going to be built right before my house, behind my house, where their lights illuminates my bedroom because they don't turn the lights off. It's on all throughout the night. And I've lost my privacy in my back porch. Now, not only that, I've lived with that. This now, like, it keeps on adding to it. Now it's a bigger parking place, a court, and all the noise, assuming that we're gone from 9 to 5. I'm at home 9 to 5. I work after that. So that's one other angle of this, because Mr. Boynton talked very well that when somebody buys a house and there is a park next to it, they know what they're walking into. But in our situation, it wasn't the case. So I think it's very unfair to make that comparison. The other issue that I wanted to talk about is one of the, I know what you call it, the considerations of who is going to use this court. You said that it's going to be the employees, it's going to be the clients and future clients. In every aspect of life, from like when you want to enforce a law or a rule, you have to have something that you can measure easily. So for example, when the police force wants to cite, to give a ticket, you say if you drive over this speed limit, then you get a citation. If you don't wear a helmet, you get a citation. How are you gonna find out that somebody is a future client? I would say a kid, a cheerful and playful kid who is 10 years old and comes and plays in that court and shouts all those hours that they are there will be a future client. How can you prove that it is a future client or not? And then when for example, when sometimes you travel to Europe, for example, you hop on a train and then in the next station, somebody comes in, rides, and then checks everybody's cards to see if they have balance. They can say that this person is there for a good reason, like they have balance, they have paid for it, and they're okay, or they're gonna get a citation. How is the police or anybody who's gonna enforce this say that this is a future client? How is not open to? I would say like this is open to everyone, because I cannot prove that this is a future client. So that's my concern. That this is not much different. In my opinion, it's not different than a park in Orchardly Park or any other park, or the tennis courts in OCC. It's not much different than that, because you can't prove or disprove that this is a future client or not. Thank you. If you have a question,
Thank you. Any questions? All right. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Who else wishes to address City Council on this matter? Okay. All right, we will swear you in.
Hello.
Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in any testimony before council this evening?
I do.
Thank you.
My name's Christine Jeffress. I'm an Oakwood resident, and I'm also a Russell employee. Now I've lost my train of thought.
Before you get your train of thought, can you share your address for the record?
648 Woods Road.
Thank you.
I was just going to say, I guess I can see things from both sides. And part of me completely understands being a homeowner and being concerned about losing any property value and also losing any enjoyment from your home. I will also say, from the noise perspective, Lane Stadium is right there, and it seems like the lights and sounds from Lane Stadium would be a lot noisier than a pickleball court. Where I am, I'm about 2 blocks from the community center, a couple blocks from the football stadium. When there's swim meets, I hear it clearly at my house. When there's tennis courts there, I don't find it troublesome. I just find it part of, living in a community. But I do respect the Point Oakwood people and their concerns. I guess I would also just say the bottom line is Russell wants to be, a good member of the community. We try to be. We pay a lot of taxes, and we want to get along great with everyone. And I would hope that if we can't agree on the pickleball, that we can at least agree on parking, because we definitely need it. Obviously, it's a hassle as an employee when we were having freezing cold days or pouring down rain, walking from behind the synagogue. And then we also, just for our clients, especially, you know, there's a busy tax practice in our building. Coolidge Wall has a satellite office there. So, you know, in addition to just our employees of Russell, there's 2 other companies functioning there. And the parking has definitely become a real issue for all of us. And I think that the plan is very attractively done, and that at least the parking should not impact the surrounding houses, in my opinion, for what it's worth.
Okay. Any questions for Christine? All right, thank you for your testimony. Anyone else? Okay, going once, going twice, okay.
Mr. Mayor, can we ask additional, I mean, like if we have follow-up questions, we...
If you have follow-up questions, we could do that now. Once we close the hearing, probably not, but if that's what it takes to get a decision, you know, if you feel like you need clarification to make your, you know, I'll grant you some leeway on that, but if you have some follow-up questions specifically now, or do you want to wait during? Go ahead.
You know,
never give away the mic, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
Just a few more questions for someone from Russell Wealth Management, if they're willing to answer.
That'll be fine.
I had a couple questions. What about the hours of the wellness program that you offer currently? So understanding that the pickleball will only be available from 9 to 5, but if you can give me a fuller understanding of the hours that you mentioned, personal training, you mentioned some sort of hyperbolic chamber that I don't understand. If you can give me a fuller understanding of the hours of this side of your business, as well as the number of clients that use these services, and the number of clients we can expect to be using this pickleball court.
Great question on the number of clients. The other wellness services are within the 9 to 5 hours. The personal trainer offers classes after noon on Fridays for employees and clients. Can I jump to the end question before I get to the other question? My anticipation for the pickleball court is that it's rarely used. I maybe a game a day during the warm season. I do not anticipate it being back to back to back to back during that 9 to 5 hours. It is our intent with it is to have our team members be able to have a little exercise throughout the day, and then as well as if we have a wealth advisor like Andrew who wants to entertain a prospective client, to be able to take them out for a quick pickleball game, or if there's a client who wants to use it before or after their visits with us. When it comes to the actual question of how many people visit us a day per week, at least 24. Yeah. Per week. 24 per week for our current offerings.
Yep.
You have other questions for her?
And just again, part of, I know Rob Russell couldn't be here, but part of the discussion with them is kind of the education about healthy options. So part of his vision was bringing in somebody to take a few clients and show them pickleball, you know. So it's not necessarily, I think everybody's pictured this in their head, this is what they're seeing at Orchardly. That's not the intent, right? The personal trainer isn't running people in like LA Fitness. It's more about the education of it. Then they can do it in their home, or they can hire them and do it separately. So it's really the educational, just like it is, they're part of their wealth as well. And while I'm here, I did want to address that there is very definitely a quiet category. If that wanted to be written into the language, we were not aware of that, but there is a USA pickleball rated quiet category. And you know, what I heard from the residents is Russell's an awesome neighbor, and they're worried about them not being compliant with these rules. I think that's a little crazy. I think they'll continue to be a great neighbor, and I think they'll absolutely comply with these rules. The court will be controlled. Access will be controlled. 10-year-olds will not be coming up and playing on that court. Access will only be by Russell Wealth. Paddles, balls will be provided by Russell Wealth. That's all part of what's agreed to, and I am very confident they will continue to be a good neighbor and live with those restrictions that were come up in Planning Commission.
Thank you. Anything else? All right. Hearing no other testimony, we will close the public hearing portion of our meeting, and council will now begin their deliberations. And I will start with Councilmember Dorn. Because this is his first public hearing.
Already. So how do you want to deliberate? I'm new to this. You're asking the newbie.
I think you could state what you like about the proposal, if there's anything you dislike about the proposal, if there's something that, back to what Councilmember Jackson said, we could either accept it as presented, you could accept it with conditions, or you could, or we could reject it. And now one point of clarification that I think it was Christine brought up.
Brought up the parking?
Yeah, I mean, I've heard no complaints about this parking other than some lights going in to Shantz, which appear to me to be property screened, but if that's an issue that you have, that's something that we should, discuss.
So my first thoughts, and I will say these are first thoughts, and I want to hear the rest.
You'll want to hear from the group
before making any final decision. But I've not heard any significant issue with the parking aspect, right? And with the pickleball, I mean, it was very helpful to hear some of the context of how this fits into the larger business plan, as well as to hear some of the concerns about particularly noise, right? And how that might impact the community and impact neighbors. And I think I've heard that Russell Wealth Management has been a good neighbor, as Mr. Byington has said. I've not heard anything to make me think that Russell Wealth Management will stop being a good neighbor tonight. So those are my initial thoughts.
All right. Councilmember Jackson?
Thank you. I attended the public hearing at the Planning Commission because I wanted to hear.
Did any other members of council do that? I did not. I know Vice Mayor Byington was there, but he was recused.
But I just wanted to hear the public testimony for myself rather than reading about it or hearing from others. And I felt that the Planning Commission really did a good job of trying to find those compromises that have been discussed, the conditions. I also talked to a number of neighbors myself, particularly the ones on Shantz Avenue. And what I found is that the residents were more concerned about the lighting and the loss of the view of downtown Dayton than they were with the any sound coming from the pickleball. They were also very complimentary of the what a good neighbor Russell has been. And they also moved, several of them moved to the area just recently, so they knew they were moving across the street from a multi-use property. So I'm really inclined to go with the recommendation of the Planning Commission, as stated.
I would take one point that you made. Just you're allowed to have that opinion, but since talking to neighbors that did not attend, that's not technically evidence. It's not evidence that we should consider. You know, that said, if that's influencing your decision, I believe that is proper.
That's exactly how I meant it, Mayor, that it did influence my thinking. Not trying to report what they said to me, but when I learned that their larger when I realized that their larger concern had to do with view and vista, then sound, that did influence my thinking.
Okay, Councilmember Turbin.
Oh, okay. Well, first of all, I do appreciate the concessions that have been made, and I have to say that I think for Point Oakwood, the movement of the court is huge. I mean, because you've got 350 feet, plus you've got the solid building. And from what I've read, because I don't have a sound study here, you know, I've heard that you need something solid to block that. But I still have concerns. Well, let me back up. I would agree completely on the parking. I still have concerns about the sound for Sean's. Okay, I read, right or wrong, that acoustic consultants and park planners, when they're planning pickleball courts, generally require a minimum of 250 to 350 feet separation. 500 is preferred. And so at 180 feet, it's below the minimum, and I don't know how I get comfortable with that. And I was hoping that somebody could do that for me, because that's right now where I'm hung up.
Okay. All right. Both of you have let me ask Rob Jacks to clarify what evidence we can and cannot consider. Is that a fair discussion?
And thank you for giving me the opportunity to do that. It's very important that council only focus on information that was produced at the hearing tonight, and not, for example, outside conversations and things like that. I understand you said that may be influencing your thinking. I need to ask council to just confine its thinking to what's been discussed tonight in the testimony and evidence that was presented, and to discount any of those outside conversations. We really need to focus only on what's been produced tonight.
Okay.
If there are any questions about that, I'm happy to answer them, but I just want to make sure that we, from a due process standpoint, that we're only considering the testimony and evidence produced during the hearing.
So are you saying that Councilmember Turbin has read reports where planners think it should be 500 feet of distance, even though this is not? Is that something? None of that was discussed. Now, what was discussed was some people are thinking it's too close to my house.
I would say that also should not be considered in fashioning a decision, because you don't have that planner here to ask questions of that person, or to cross-examine that person, or to review the material that underlies their opinion or their report. We have to confine the decision to the information that's produced during the hearing.
Okay. Is that clear?
Well, then, without a sound study, how do we know? How do we judge that?
If a sound study is necessary to reach a decision, council can request that or direct the applicant to produce that. But you can't rely on independent investigation that's been conducted outside of the hearing.
Okay.
Okay. You have a comment?
Well, I also just, my day job is talking about music and sound, right? So I just wonder what a sound study would provide for us, right? Based on my professional knowledge of acoustical, granted it's archaeoacoustics, but that's fine. I'm wondering what further information an acoustical study would be able to provide for us. Because I think so much of it is dependent on usage, which we don't have evidence for how often it will be used. We have our testimony from admitted good neighbors who said it will be used relatively infrequently.
And go ahead.
Between a certain set of hours. And so, in terms of the amount of noise it would create, I'm not sure what the acoustic study would be able to pinpoint.
Well, and
this house, that house, I mean.
Yeah, and Mr. Burnett said he could provide a sound study, and the people that are opposed to it could provide a sound study, and it's just like, you know, I'm not certain you're going to get one sound study that sort of dovetails with you. So, well, it's not going to be a problem. You're going to have another sound study that says it would be a problem. I do think that if I had to look at it between the original location and the current location, I don't know how anybody could say that it's going to be noisier the second time than the first time, because it's closer to the Point Oakwood people, and you don't have the building itself being a buffer.
Right.
So I think that evidence, is reasonable to consider. Would you agree with that? I think so. Remember, yeah, don't let the lawyers decide what council does. Is that what you're saying?
Restate it so I can make sure that I understand.
Okay. All right. I will accept that. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were going to opine. But,
could you restate it?
Okay. I guess I'm saying if there was issue regarding, I can't make my mind up because there was no sound study. I think the applicant said, I could give you a sound study that says there's no problem. He also said, I'm sure that the opponents could give us a sound report that says it is a problem. So I'm not certain the fact that, you know, Councilmember Turbin felt that that was something that was a big problem for her. You know, it would seem to me she should either ask us to make that a condition or make her decision absent that evidence. I probably didn't frame that good enough to have you opine.
Yeah, I think you did. You don't have a sound study in the record. You have some testimony on the record as to what it may or may not show and how much value it may or may not provide to council in making a decision. It's up to council as to whether you want to require that or whether you feel that you've got enough information to make a decision. If one of you wants something that others of you don't, you know, that's going to go into how you frame your motion and how you choose to approve or not what's in front of you.
That's fair. I mean, it seems to me that Councilmember Dorff and I don't feel the necessity of getting a sound study.
I am not wedded to. I don't think a sound study is necessary for me to make my decision. But if that helps others feel more confident, I would not be opposed to requiring a sound study.
Okay. Well, let me.
Mayor, I don't think a sound study is necessary.
All right. Well,
may I speak? I thought that a sound study would tell me from this distance, so from 240 feet, how many decibels would it be if, you know, with a pickleball popping? From 99 feet, from 180 feet, from 350. That's what I was looking for. Mm-hmm. And what those decibels would equate to in something that we can relate to. Is it just common people talking? Because that wouldn't be an issue to me 350 feet away. So.
I take your point, but I think the majority of council doesn't feel like that having that would require us to table this or vote no or bring it back at a different time. But I guess what I would like to, I'll take that under advisement. I guess what I would also like to bring up is another point. There was some question regarding the lighting, and what I thought I heard was that you would be willing to do away with the lighting on the court itself, not the lighting to light the parking spaces. Is my understanding correct there? Okay. So I mean, to me, that also is a mitigating factor that you know, I think would benefit the neighbors, whether they can. I don't have a problem with lighting the pickleball court, but I could see where some people might have a problem with light density. I mean, every time I go outside to look at stars, I can't see any because we have so much light pollution in this town already. But that said, that may be something we may want to make as a condition, which would be something that we would add to your motion if we choose to approve this. I guess I would also sort of dovetail with Councilmember Jackson's comments that the Planning Commission did a very good job of working additional contingencies in this that did not exist the last time, as evidenced by the applicant, trying to, be a good neighbor and also dealing with issues that were presented the last time. Obviously, drainage came up the last time, and that's a non-issue. The second thing is the fact that the Planning Commission voted 4-0. Of course, they voted 4-0 the first time too. But I mean, I think the Planning Commission. That's why we have a Planning Commission, is to go through all these in different details. And I do believe that that the applicant has gone over and above what was probably necessary to get consensus with the Planning Commission and the neighborhood. But go ahead.
I just want to concur with you, Mayor Duncan, that we, as a council, we appoint members to this Planning Commission with the understanding that they will do the duty of the community. Think about the full community as they in their decision making, and so I don't take their decision, especially if it's 4-0, lightly.
Okay, Councilmember Jackson, do you have any other comments?
I don't have any other comments, Mayor.
Okay, Councilmember Turbin?
Fine.
Okay. Well, what do you all think about putting the one, in addition to the things in our resolution they've already agreed to, putting in no lights on the pickleball court?
I'd be amenable to that. I do want to, can we talk a little bit more about enforcement? Like, I think, this idea that the testimony has been that they are good neighbors currently. We all have neighbors. Sometimes neighbors are decide not to be good neighbors, right? So I was just wondering if we can have a conversation about what if the, if neighbors find the pickleball playing to be particularly disruptive of around certain hours, is Russell Wealth Management amenable, to being a good neighbor, right? If my next door neighbor was going to have a big party and invite 30 people over, and there's going to be a lot of parking, I would expect them to reach out and say, hey, we're doing this, is that okay? And thus I would expect neighbors who you share a community with, if they were to have an issue, could they reach out to you? And would you be amenable to saying, hey, clients, at this, on this day, these neighbors are having a birthday party in their front yard. I'm just brainstorming here, but can we talk a little bit about what that neighborhood community and those conversations might look like?
Well, we have to talk about it among ourselves.
Yes.
Okay.
Sorry, I was looking at you, but I'm thinking you.
Okay. I believe that our process, for handling noise complaints exists in our city. There are people, good friends of mine, who live farther away from the baseball fields than this case, and they call and complain about using aluminum bats for the baseball and softball team. Well, it's not, I hear them too, but it's not. But there's a process in place for if that person really wants to complain, that they can do that. I thought of one thing as we were going through this, and I don't think it's practical in this case, but if you recall when we had the insomnia cookie deal where they wanted to be open extra hours on the weekend, I believe it was, that we said, we'll approve this subject to a 1-year look back. And if there are any complaints, we reserve the right to revisit this. Now, the fact that they were, I'm not certain that's practical in this case. It's a little less expensive for Insomnia Cookies to cut back their hours, 2 hours on a late Friday and Saturday night, as opposed to, I don't know, how much do pickleball courts cost? Oh, okay. But I mean, they're going to invest at least a significant sum of capital for us to say, well, now you can't use it anymore. So I'm not certain proposing a look-back period makes sense, but it ran in and out of my mind as we were going through this.
We could revisit the hours.
Well, I mean, yeah, I understand. Yeah. I think that, and again, going from 9 to 8 in the first proposal down to 9 to 5, I mean, shoot, the trash trucks make more noise. You know.
Just brainstorming, right?
I know.
If we theoretically we could, create some sort of, add another condition that we would revisit the hours, in a year. Yeah. But maybe not necessary.
Mayor Duncan, I believe that Russell Wealth has demonstrated that they've been good neighbors for how many years? And the property is pristine. Everything they've done, they do that reflects wealth and high standards. I'm just not concerned that they will not obey our restrictions. Mm-hmm. I think that we can't make it any tighter.
Yeah, but okay, I would not disagree with that. So is there any, does council want to approve this motion with my recommendation that the lights on the pickleball court be removed as an additional condition by council?
I believe that's how I would vote, yes.
All right. Are we ready to call the question?
Yes.
Okay, this is where it gets complicated. We've already introduced the resolution, and there was a second. I've wanted to add additional restrictions, so do we vote on the additional restriction first, and then we vote on the resolution as amended? Is that how it works, Councilman?
Well, the resolution's already been introduced and seconded. I think you can propose an amendment to that motion if you want to add, for example, in section 3 where we left space there, you could make an amendment to the resolution that there'd be no lighting on the pickleball court consistent with the hours of operation that are already agreed to.
This is where it gets complicated. You said it, it sounds perfect, and I can't re-say it as a resolution. Or should we direct you? You understand council's intent. You can write that.
Someone should offer an amendment. I think if I understand where you're going, someone should offer an amendment to the motion that was already made, and that amendment would be to add language to section 3, removing the lights on the pickleball court.
Okay. That sounded pretty good. Do you remember what he just said?
I would make an amendment to section 3, removing the lights from the pickleball court application.
Right.
From the pickleball court.
Okay, and is there a second to his amendment?
A second.
All right. All those, voice vote or roll call?
You would then do a roll call vote on the motion as amended.
Oh, okay. So I do a voice vote on the amendment? Don't we have?
No, a roll call vote.
Okay, please. So this is a roll call vote on the amendment to the application. Did I say that right? No.
A roll call vote on the amended motion.
Oh, so that would be it, just one vote?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm asking for her to do a roll call vote on the amended motion that Healy previously introduced.
And I'll second that.
Okay. So Lori, would you please call the roll?
Mayor Duncan?
Yes.
Mrs. Turbin?
Yes.
Mrs. Jackson?
Yes.
Mr. Dorff?
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you all for attending. We're not done yet, but you're welcome to stay. But this concludes our public hearing on this matter. I welcome Vice Mayor Byington back to the dais. I've lost my agenda. I believe we're done with legislation, so it's time for council or city manager comments?
Yes.
Okay. Welcome, City Manager Smitty.
Okay. Thank you, Mayor. On May 1st, the city launched a communication survey. The goal is to better understand which communication channels are working well and where we can improve. So I'm asking that all residents grab a friend or two, go online to the city's website and take the communication survey so we can find out how our residents and businesses are getting their information. On April 23rd, Thomas Hayes, our recreation specialist, or our recreation supervisor, Public Works Director Doug Spittler, and myself attended the annual Tree City USA Award ceremony held in Forest Park. And I'm happy to announce that the city was recognized for the 44th time as a Tree City USA. This recognition reflects the ongoing care and the attention to the tree canopy in our city, which makes Oakwood so unique and important to its character. Lastly, the perennial sale, which was held on April 10th and 11th, was a great success. We sold everything from hanging baskets to herb plants. So I just want to take a minute to thank all of the staff that participated at the beautification committee, as well as all the volunteers who helped make this beloved event a success. Thank you.
Am I correct? We had some leftover plants that we took somewhere. Where did we take?
Yeah. We certainly did. So Thomas actually found an organization called the Missions of Mercy. Mission of Mary, which is in downtown Dayton, and they have a program where the community has several gardens, and those herbs will be used in the garden, and the community can come and make use of that garden. So.
Okay, well that sounds like a worthy cause. All right, any questions for City Manager? All right, then we will go to council comments, and we'll start with Councilmember Dorff.
Thank you. I'll try and be brief. I first just really want to thank council for making the campaign for e-bike safety a top priority. I wanted to thank our council members and recognize that it's really important. It's an important step to help keep our community safe. We cannot do this work alone, and I just want to continue to urge our council members to engage with each other and with our leaders in Columbus to help keep our city safe and keep e-bike use safe. I also want to send a big congratulations to Mike and Rose Morgan. For 30 years, they have been keeping Central Perk as not just a thriving small business in our community, but really a community hub, a gathering place, a space for folks to connect, and really to be a real cornerstone of the Oakwood business community. So congratulations to Mike and Rose.
Councilmember Jackson.
Thank you, Mayor. I also wanted to recognize Mike and Rose Morgan because beyond their cafe, they've been incredibly generous, supporting our schools, local businesses, and civic events, and their contributions have just really touched countless lives. It's really Oakwood's answer to a place where everybody knows your name. And so I feel that they've been such a community treasure over the years. I also want to recognize Alex Heckman, Steve Lute, and Nancy Shafala, 3 Oakwood residents who have brought the story of Carillon Historic Park to life. To celebrate Dayton's history's 75th anniversary, Alex and Steve authored this book. It's called A Living Landmark, and Nancy Shafala, in the words of the 2 authors, guided it from concept to publication with remarkable professionalism and patience. The 222-page book tells how the park grew into a place that captures great dreams and moments of human imagination. Its first page quotes the Dayton Daily News, June 3rd, 1950, It says, Virginia has its Williamsburg, Michigan, its Greenfield Village, Dayton now has its Carillon Park. So thanks to the work of Alex, Steve, and Nancy, the history of the special place is preserved and shared with all of us. They've made history come alive, and in doing so, they've helped shape our community's identity. Then just today, I received notice that the Ohio Museum Association has given them the Gold Award for this publication. I also have a question for Mayor Duncan. After taking your e-bike safety class this past month, what's the single most important thing you learned?
I learned that the bike that we purchased with city money is too heavy for me to ride.
Well, thank you, Mayor.
but the kids were informative, and it's like kids, if we give them correct instruction, they'll follow it. So.
Well, your class participation evidences that bike safety isn't just for kids, though it's especially important for them. And your example reminds us of how important it is to teach our children safe riding habits and maybe to check our own helmet straps. I'm speaking to myself. Okay. Finally, I want to mention the OIC's longest table. The Oakwood Inclusion Coalition is hosting a community-wide block party, which is modeled after Dayton's longest table event. And it's a chance for residents to share a meal together and formally meet the people that you might see around town, but you don't know their names. It's for people of all ages, for everyone to feel a part of the Oakwood community. It's June 4th, which is a Thursday night, 5:30, and the long table hopefully will extend from Delwood to Spirea and East Shantz between the junior high and the stadium. Website has more information. And that concludes my commercial and my comments.
Thank you. And
right.
Councilmember Turbin.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Well, I concur with both Councilmember Dorff and Jackson regarding the increased awareness and safety around e-bike operation. And I'm really delighted that council is getting involved and we're looking to the state for assistance. Really, our first step was to have a meeting with Representative White, and we included our city manager and our legal counsel and Councilmember Dorff and myself. And I must say that she was very receptive to the idea because she's been hearing similar concerns from all over the municipalities. So we aren't alone in that. And we decided that we were going to hit the problem head on. And when you think about it, the heart of the problem is that we have our young people out on the streets riding e-bikes that have no understanding or knowledge about the traffic laws or their responsibilities. And so consequently, we hope to present a bill this fall on e-bike safety, and that it's going to focus on education and how we can educate the operators of these e-bikes on Ohio traffic laws and how it will affect them. And we felt this was the best approach because it directly focuses on the problem, and it's one that all communities can get behind. So stay tuned for more information.
Thank you. Vice Mayor Byington.
Yes, I'd just like to mention the Oakwood Rotary's That Day in May celebration, 2 weeks from Saturday, or I guess not this Saturday, but next Saturday. It is May 16th. It is probably one of our, as an Oakwood Rotarian, is one of our largest fundraising events and just a great community opportunity for folks to get together. It starts with a pancake breakfast as well as a 5K, 10K races. Later in the afternoon, I think it's right around noon, we have a parade, and our very own ex-councilman Rob Stevens will be the Grand Marshal for the parade this year, so I encourage folks to come out and throw candy at him. I don't know if he's going to throw candy out, but definitely throw it at him. There's also a dog show, car show, kids games, inflatable bouncy house room, an entire room of that, as well as informational booths. Chuck, are we having the smokehouse again out there?
Yes, we are.
Okay, yeah, so our public safety officers will have their smokehouse, and there will be booths that will highlight a lot of community organizations, particularly those here in Oakwood. So I encourage everybody to come out, meet your neighbors, eat some good food, and support the Oakwood Rotary.
Thank you. I want to report that this Friday, City Manager Smitty and myself are going to attend the 19th Annual Law Enforcement Officer Memorial Ceremony. It's downtown at Riverscape, and it's to honor the 49 Montgomery County law enforcement officers who have died in the line of duty over the last 145 years. There is one Oakwood officer in that list of 49. And then after that, the week of the 15th, or on the 15th, I'm sorry, I'm attending a Sidewalk Soldiers event at the Dayton Women's Club. That is a fundraiser for them. The Sidewalk Soldiers help rescue and do other things to help rehab women that have been victims of human trafficking. It's a huge issue in the Miami Valley, given our the crossroads of I-70 and I-75, and Oakwood resident Emily Matolo is on there. I don't know if she's on the board or one of the volunteers.
She's volunteer.
She's volunteer, and so there's going to be testimonies from some of the victims as well as some of the soldiers themselves as to what they do. So, and then that same day, the 15th, is the ribbon cutting for the Montgomery County Law Enforcement Memorial, which is a memorial that lists all of these folks, and it's near it's on Riverview, near the Masonic Temple. The Masonic Temple donated the ground, and we've been in a fundraising campaign for multiple years, and we had a major donor that put us over the top. So I will be attending that as well. So our next meeting is what is it? June 1? May, I've lost my calendar. You took my calendar away. What day is it? It's on my agenda. Can't find my.
Yep.
June 1st. June 1st is our next Oakwood City Council meeting. Thank you all for your attention, and we are adjourned.